One of the things I often hear people say is that there's always somebody worse off than me. And that's okay, because sometimes when people say it, they say, well, there's someone worse off than me, isn't there? It actually makes them kind of feel better. They think, well, things could be worse. And so it gives them a certain sense of perspective, and that's fine. It's helpful in that sense when they think that, the way they think about it. But by the same token, I also hear people say, well, there's plenty worse off than me. And the way they say that is not so much, this is a helpful idea, but it's a way to kind of discount their own feelings, their own real suffering, really. They're not doing it because they're finding it helpful. They're doing it to disallow themselves the help that they might need. Not necessarily from a professional, but maybe even from a friend. They won't reach out to a family member or a friend or a professional in order to get the support that they need, because after all, there's somebody worse than me. There's somebody worse off than me, and so therefore, my problem ain't so great. Therefore, I should just get on with it because there's somebody worse off than me. And I understand that sentiment, but I think it's a shame if it stops us from reaching out to those who could offer us support. I think it's a shame that we kind of invalidate our own very real suffering and just bury it on down, when really we'd be better off seeking some sort of support, whether that be professional or from the family, from friends, whatever. And the thing that I often think of when people disallow themselves that help on that for that reason, the thing I often think about is that phrase, there's somebody worse off than me. There's only one person on the planet who can't say that. For every single person on the planet minus one, there really is somebody worse off than them. It's only the person who is suffering the most, that one poor soul who's suffering the most, who can't actually say that there's somebody worse off than me, because for that person, there isn't anybody worse off than them. But for all of the rest of us, of course there is. So every single person on the planet, according to that logic, is not allowed support and help and all of those things that go with it. So when I was training to become a psychotherapist, the person who was training me used to have this phrase, and he'd say to us, it doesn't matter how many vials of poison anybody else is drinking, your vial of poison will still kill you. And what he was basically saying there is that, it doesn't really matter how bad somebody else has got it. Your pain is pain. Your pain is real, and it deserves to be attended to. And so I suppose in this episode, that's what I'm saying too. Because if, when you think, well, there's somebody worse than me, so therefore I'm not entitled to support or help or any of those things that come with it, then I'd say to you that in the same way, pain is pain. And if you're not entitled to it because there's somebody worse off than you, then nobody on the planet is entitled to it, apart from that one person who's suffering more than everyone. So if you've enjoyed this podcast episode, feel free to share it or rate it on Apple Tunes. And if you want to work with me, I'm Alun Parry from the Liverpool Psychotherapy practice, and you can find me at liverpoolpsychotherapy.co.uk. So until the next podcast, take care, and thanks for listening.